an investment. So should you take that money and invest it somewhere so that it can grow something for you in the future, or you should just take it and put it under your mattress?
Mattress is good.
Is it?
Lots of dangers in the mattress. It can be stolen.
It can be burnt.
It can be eaten by rats. And it will not earn money for you, interest. And it's also very accessible to you. So you won't last with it for a week before you go and spend it. Yeah.
Jesse?
Let's say I've managed to put, I'll just pick a random figure, around 5 million Kenya shillings in my pension. Give us a breakdown in terms of the amounts one might expect once they retire, monthly deposits, vis-a-vis the general amount you've been able to save through contributions, yourself and the employer. And equally, when it comes to that particular point, do you need to follow up your money? Do you need to go line up, or is the process seamless? Are there monthly charges once you start withdrawing your retirement pension funds? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think the way to answer that question is to also explain how the scheme works. So once an employer starts a retirement plan for their employees, a retirement scheme, it no longer belongs to the employer. It's now a separate entity, and it is regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority. And the employer is under an obligation, legal obligation, to deduct from the employee, match the amount, and forward it to the scheme. And the scheme the members appoint trustees who then act as the legal owners of the scheme. So one of the very interesting cases we've had in the industry is when maybe an employee is sacked because of an issue, and the employer then says you can't get your pension. That RBA has come up very clearly, and they cannot attach your pension benefits. That does not belong to them. If the employee has done something else, like maybe stolen, please follow the legal way, recover your money, but do not touch, because pension monies are non-assignable. No one can take your pension
And
benefits.
attach them to something.
Yes,
Okay.
what you've not paid SACCO loan, so people attach. It's not possible. The law is, it's a really protected fund by law, so that no one can access that fund and use it for another purpose. It's only for you. So what happens is these pension schemes, we have different types, like all the funds managed by insurance companies, like the personal pension plans I've talked about, the employer schemes, they are called guaranteed funds. Again, they are guaranteed by law, regulated by two regulators, the Insurance Regulatory Authority and also the Retirement Benefits Authority. So what happens with this guarantee, your capital means the monies you have actively put into that scheme is guaranteed. So I could not have put 100,000 and then I'm given a statement at the end of the year, my money is 95. No, the 100 is guaranteed. Then there's also a minimum rate of return, which is guaranteed. Currently, it's about, some companies give 5%, others give 4%. That is guaranteed at law through a contract and through the acts. So what happens in a guaranteed fund, the insurance company takes the investment risk. So they're the ones investing, they take the risk. If they lose the funds, the law has a way of dealing with that, because the insurance company is supposed to put a lot of assets to match those funds. But most of the interest rate they declare at the end of the year, if you look at the average of even last year, it was about 10-11%. So what happens is with these guaranteed funds, so you every time, because most companies now will have a portal where you can access your statement and see how your fund is growing. But with there's another form of where you can save for also your retirement. Some schemes are segregated. So with segregated schemes, you as either the scheme or you as the individual, you carry the investment risk. So if the markets go down, so that's the main difference between the segregated funds and the guaranteed funds.
Okay. The majority of people, if we're looking at Kenya today, a majority of the people are not in this employment where it seems as though you can then break things down, that a particular amount of your salary is then put in this bin and something is put in this bin, and then you have pensions and it's matched and all these other fancy things. Majority of people don't have access to that. But we're saying that everybody at some point or another needs to have something that you can rely on for the future.
Yes.
Whether we're looking at a semi-urban, urban, rural population.
Yes.
What about those who are not in formal employment? What about those who want to be able to keep something for a rainy day? Because if you look at how things were done traditionally, is that there was food because you live right next to it. So you don't have to worry about when you're older where you're going to get it from. There was community. You're living in the community. So communities took care of one another. But now we're living in a more insular, segregated community society whereby every man for himself and God for us all. But we're saying that still you need to have something for a rainy day. How do the people who are not in formal employment then take advantage or even start to think about these opportunities for retirement?
Okay, thank you so much. And that's why we talked about the individual pension plan. That is specifically designed for somebody who is in self-employment, someone who is not in a regular employment, and they can be able to decide how much they are able to put aside according to their income. And maybe to come back to his question, so what happens, this money grows, you are able to, even in a personal pension plan, you are able to track how your money is growing. And remember, I talked about the tax benefit. So whatever money you are putting into this scheme, you are putting it, you are enjoying tax benefits of up to 20,000 per month. And then the investment income that is earned by these funds, the pension funds, is also exempted from tax. So in other words, your statement will never show a deduction because your capital is guaranteed, the interest is guaranteed, and there is no tax.
Yeah.
And that is a question where many people come and say, I could also invest in something else. Like I'll give an example of the money market funds. They are good. It's a good investment vehicle. I also have one, I enjoy it. But what you find, the money market should be for shorter to medium term needs. Like I want to buy a house, I want to save secondary school fees, And with the money market, I'll save it from my after-tax money, after I have paid tax. The interest I earn from the money market is again taxed. And again, this money is accessible to me. I could just decide all my friends are going to Dubai for a holiday. Peer pressure. I decide to pick it and go. So you can use that for other investment needs. But for retirement, we always say the best thing is either the individual personal pension plan, or if you are in a case of employment, then you save with the employer schemes. When it now comes to retirement, the law allows early retirement from age 50. But you're the one to decide when you want to retire if the employer does not push you out. In an individual case where you're self-employed, you're the one to set your own retirement age. So at that stage, we have two types of schemes. We have the pension plan and we have the provident fund. A provident fund, your whole fund is taken, you're given the money, so you're given 10 million, 12 million, 20 million, whatever you've built. You've never handled such money so fast, you go into confusion as you decide what to do with the money. And research done by RBA has shown that the people who take a lump sum at retirement, that money doesn't last them 2 years. So the other scheme in which the law and RBA encourages is the pension plan, where you're allowed to draw out a third of the money. So if it's 10 million, it's about 3.3 million that you can go and do games with and, try your business. But the other 2/3, you are allowed to either take it now as a regular monthly payment that will pay you every month until the day you die. And that is called an annuity. Or you can put it in a fund called an income drawdown, where you draw a certain amount, up to a maximum of 12% every year for a period of 10 years. So when it comes to withdrawing your pension at the withdrawal stage, there are no stories. The law is very clear, the RBA Act, within 30 days, funds should be paid to a member. Yes.
So all these things we are speaking of, we will conduct them through an insurance company.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, all these the pension funds I've talked about, we have segregated, which can be done by fund managers, and we have guaranteed funds, which are strictly managed by insurance companies. Most of the individual pension plans in the market, which are regulated by RBA, are actually started by insurance companies. Yes.
In the unlikely event that the insurance company goes under, what happens?
Okay, that's a very good question. We've seen some companies going under over some years. But one of the things I would like to challenge you on to check is that all of them were actually general insurance companies. Life insurance companies are required by law to build a life fund, which is the insurance company is required to have assets in excess of the liabilities that the life insurance company holds. The only company I can tell you that went under, it had a life part of it was Kenya National, which is very many years ago. And all the people who had life policies or even pension funds were paid up, because the fund was, the life fund, which was already protected, was taken up by the regulator, IRA, and they paid off every single person who had either a life policy or pension funds.
Sorry, Pauline. Yeah, I just in relation to that, because I think sometimes it befuddles us, and so we get a bit confused. When you say, because that's the fear for a lot of people, isn't it? That you're going to take your money and you're going to put it somewhere, and then somewhere, whatever voodoo is done, the thing disappears. So when you say that they're required to have an asset base in excess,
assets in excess of
assets
liabilities.
in excess of liabilities. So when you say that in English, what exactly are we saying now? That the money that you have as the insurance company should be more than the monies that the different individuals who are part of the scheme collectively have. So if all of us were 1,000 and we have 1 billion shillings that we've put there, the insurance company, not our money, should have their own money in excess of 1 billion.
5% in excess of 1 billion.
Okay, all right.
So in case anything goes wrong, then the regulator has an asset that they can then pick, which is mainly in government securities, to pay off the 1 billion funds.
Okay.
Over what period of time were people who had this sort of facilities with, say, Kenya National Insurance paid?
I know what took long was the changeover to appoint to appoint a manager to what is the name of that? For the regulator to appoint a manager to oversee that process, a receiver manager. Thank you. But the process of paying off took about 1 year. Once IRA appointed a receiver manager, the receiver manager was able to look at, because you have to call in auditors and to check the books. But it took 1 year for IRA now to pay off the people who had funds.
See, the reason I ask this question is because banks now in this country also offer insurance services. Not necessarily life, but they do. And some even have branches that offer insurance services. But we've seen banks collapse. And we have seen the pain that people who had money in those banks have gone through. Now, I don't know details of how they were paid, when they were paid, when it was settled. Yes, there is a deposit fund that I know exists, which enables you to receive your money, but it is received in installments over a period of time. It isn't a lump sum. And the installments are usually very meager amounts. I'm saying meager, depending on whatever it is that you had and how they are paid. So when it comes to understanding what it is that one is protected against, I would then think that the insurance companies who offer the sort of facilities that you're talking about need to have a very large pot of money, meaning they need to have very many clients. Is that not so?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
now now this leads me to my question. What efforts are made to ensure that all these things that we're saying here are understood by people long before they even start working, long before they start earning money? Because if the seed is sown then, when they begin work or when they're able to earn, in a country like ours with a very large population of young people, you'll have a very, very huge base of depositors and people who are not going to be retiring in the next 2 or 3 years. Yes, because if it is my generation, if we retire and we want our money, somehow the insurers and the people who are in this business have to find people who will be, and the people exist. What efforts are made to ensure that this group of individuals understand these things so that they can also join and be part and parcel of these processes?
Thank you. One of the things I need to reiterate is that one of the most protected funds in this country are retirement funds. And you can talk to people who are in that field, even like the regulator, RBA. You'll find that that is one of the most protected funds in the country. But I like your idea and what you're saying about how do we get this message to the young people so that even as people start working, they already know I need, and like that is what actually happens in the developed countries. Yes. You find even by the time somebody leaves school, first job, they already have started saving in their, is it
401k, and everybody making noise about the 401k.
Yeah, they really talk about that. Yeah. So one of the things we did, and I know even the regulators, especially RBA, have been very active in that, is partnering with KIC, the Kenya Curriculum Development,
KICD,
to develop, to introduce that kind of education to children through the curriculum, so that even as our young people are growing, they then understand the need for saving. And when you actually look at the statistics, it's quite sad that Kenyans, as a country, our saving rate is about 10%. That out of all the income every Kenyan earns, if you do an average, it's 10% that we save in any form of saving.
It's not good.
Some countries have 50, 60%. You know? So it's something that we need to work on, because I think Kenyans, then we just eat for today and say, Kesho will take care of itself.
Black tax.
So yeah, the black tax.
Yes.
And we have to end this culture of black tax by planning for our future, so that we make it easier for our children. So we are having those efforts of engaging even the children at primary, secondary, even the universities, so that we're able to actually cultivate that culture of you need to save, and especially talking to the Gen Zs, because they are really in that space of now starting to earn. Telling them, yes, it's good to do your sherehes and all that, but please also remember
Yeah, I got the message.
Yeah, also remember to save for your future, because the saddest thing, and somebody has said, is to be old and needy. In fact, somebody said you can afford to be young and without money, but you can't afford to be old without money, because then what do you eat? What do you go to the doctor with? How do you really owe yourself that responsibility, each one of us, to take care of the older person we are definitely going to.
And that is yourself.
Yes.
So what happens at that age where because there's some people who are really prudent about this, yeah, and then that's the hope that everybody will be able to put something considerable away, so that you don't have to think, so that you could live at that time the way you did now, in the sense that you have enough to take you through. You talk about these funds being protected by law. Government has really gone, above board to make sure that nothing can touch these funds. So in the event that something happens to you, God forbid, later on in life, when you have these funds aside and that life ends and these funds have not been used. What happens to them?
Thank you very much. So for every scheme, whether individual pension plan, whether the employer scheme, the first thing as you're joining that scheme that you're given is a nomination of beneficiary form. And that one you renew it every year, because I could have joined when I'm not married. Now I'm married, I have children, So every year you update it and nominate the person that you want to, in case of, as you said, death, God forbid, but in case of death before retirement, then there is somebody that these funds can be paid to. And again, it's quite a smooth process of this was the person you nominated, and the money is paid to them. That is if somebody dies before retirement. Now, if it's after retirement, I said that there are two options. You take the 1/3 amount, that one you can go and try your business. And then with the 2/3, you then are required to either buy an annuity. An annuity is in exchange for this lump sum of 2/3, it's like a monthly pension. And we've actually seen, if you go to any of the rural areas or any setup, the people who live very well and live longest are teachers and government employees. Have you seen that?
Because they've kept...
Why? No, because they have a monthly income. Yeah, which other people don't have. So you find that they live very well because of this monthly income, because every month there's some money coming in to cater for your needs. That is what we are encouraging every person, even if you're in self-employment, create that monthly income for yourself in your old age. So once you have that monthly income, what we say, like with the annuity, you buy it, and it is guaranteed for life. So it's payable for life. For as long as you live, even if you live to 100, 120 years, it's payable every month. But we have what we call a guaranteed period. Let's say of the deal is about 10 years, so that in case somebody retires and then dies by year 2, then their beneficiaries can then enjoy the balance of the 8 years that is there in the guaranteed period. That can be taken either as a lump sum. Again, you just collapse it into one lump sum and pay off the nominated beneficiary, or you pay it monthly. They continue earning that monthly for a period of 10 years. And one of the things we find, then you can either choose the annuity way, which pays you every month until death, or you can choose the income drawdown option, where you put your fund, it is invested, then you draw down a little of it every year up to a maximum of 10 years. But the risk of that, you can easily outlive it, because if you exhaust it in 10 years, what do you do then after age 70, 80?
Yeah.
You die.
Wow.
Like that. Yeah.
So, it would be interesting to see what efforts are made to really spread the word around the nation, because, you talk about a very small percentage in terms of penetration of this information and knowledge and understanding. But, it's good steps. It's good steps that are being made. And we want to thank you so much for being here this morning to, just remind us of the importance of that for the future. And the hope is that more people will pick up on this. Whatever you have, put it aside to make sure that you can actually survive in the future. So thank you very much for that. Pauline Gathuri is the Senior Manager, Life Insurance Business, the Association of Kenya Insurers, this morning looking at the importance of getting literally our ducks in a row. Asante Sana for being in the hot seat of the Situation Room this morning. Our conversations continue, still on a health topic, but we'll look at then now the difference between NHIF and SHA. And we'll be doing that at 9. Good morning. At 8 rather. It's 8 a.m.
Imagine an illiterate, jobless youth embarking on a journey from India to Kenya with nothing but hope. This is the story